Alright everybody, welcome back to the channel. It is Matty here from Untitled PTCG. So today, it's a very special day today. We are in day 2 of our Chill Series number 22 special event tournament. The Tropical Beach event that you guys probably have heard of, might have played in. And the first day was actually phenomenal. We had a great turnout. We did split it into a 2-day event. Tonight is the top 32 bracket. So if you guys are watching this video, I highly suggest that you tune back in to the channel here on YouTube at 7 o'clock p.m. In 5 hours. We'll be posting or we'll be live streaming these matches for you guys to watch. We're gonna have a massive giveaway with a bunch of hollow energies, full play sets of all the different energy types, hollow energies, 2 types of them. We have 50 Shining Fates packs. I think if we get 100 people in the live stream tonight, we'll give an extra 50 Shining Fates away. So it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. I cannot wait. We have some great matches to play tonight, and we're going to find out who wins that Tropical Beach. But today, before we get into the live stream, before we get into the top cut, I figured, we can just sort of go over day 1 and discuss all of the things that, we typically do with the tournament. And then we'll do sort of a later analysis, after the live stream. We'll talk about the best decks and all that other good stuff. But for right now, I think that just talking about day 1 is going to be absolutely just extraordinary. So let's get into it. So Chill Series number 22. It was a great event. If we look here, let's take a look at players here. So if we go combined, I believe we had, let's show all players. We ended this tournament with 320 players, so this is definitely one of the bigger online events that not only we've run, but just in general. So definitely a super high profile event. It was absolutely phenomenal. 320 players, so I just want to thank everybody for participating. We have plenty of good stuff to look at. And first of all, what we're going to do is take a look sort of at some of these day 1 decks. Actually, you know what? Let's take a look at the metagame for the tournament. This is what the metagame was like with our 320 players. Now, of course, our most played deck of the tournament was Eternatus with 61 players, 19% of the meta share. Etern has been one of the best decks in the format for a while. It's definitely one of the most successful decks in our Chill Series events. Last season, I think it dominated the last half of the season for sure. Most people consider it to be the best deck in the format, so I highly understand. I definitely get that we had 61 in the tournament here, 19%. If we look at the win rate of all of the Eternatus in the tournament, and again, this is just overall win rate, so it doesn't necessarily factor into how well, maybe the top threshold of people did. It's everybody combined, all 61 people. The win rate was 51.35%, so obviously it was a winning deck, but not by too much, which isn't actually that much crazy. So, Eternatus here, it had some great players, I'm not gonna lie. If we look, this is just overall rankings after phase 1 and phase 2, after 13 rounds. So, we had 2 people with 10 wins up here, which are 2nd and 3rd seed in the tournament. And then if we look at here, we have Justin Stites here, 931, 931. Bunch of people at 931 all the way up to the 20 seed. And then we have a bunch of people who bubbled right outside top 32, like Johnny here and Fuji. So, definitely pretty interesting. Honestly, definitely pretty interesting. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 6 of them in top 32, which actually isn't as high as I thought it would be, which is a little bit interesting. What we can do is look at its matchup chart. So, one thing I do want to notice is that it has a 68% win rate against Pikarom. It has a 71% win rate against ADP, 75% win rate almost against Mad Party, 76 against Zacian, and then maybe some other notable ones. It's got 47 in the mirror match. That's funny, because there were some ties. So this number doesn't mean anything. What else other matchups can we possibly look at that could be interesting? Does have a 46% win rate against Decigoons, so that is something that definitely dealt with it pretty well. If we look at Luke Metal, had a 28% win rate, and this is the reason why I think so many people are playing Luke Metal in the tournaments now these days in the format. Personally, I thought that Luke Metal would take a big dive and play. We did have a decent amount of people playing Luke Metal tonight. It wasn't anything too crazy, but Luke Metal, of course, with Etern being the most played deck and probably the most dominant deck in the format right now, Luke Metal is a really good counter pick to be playing in some of these tournaments. So 28% win rate against Luke Metal, pretty bad, honestly. If we look at our Centiskorch, it's only 40% win rate. So Centiskorch in day 1 at least did have the advantage against Eternatus, which I think is actually pretty interesting. Let's take a look at the average deck here. So this data might be a little bit jarring, but this is just sort of the average amount of cards that people are playing in Eternatus. So, for example, if we take a look at, let's see. For an example, like Kurogunk here. So like half the decks, almost, or just about half of these E-turn decks are poison variants. Which is why we have, one half of a Kurogunk in here. Although most of the people playing Kurogunk might be playing like multiple. So actually, realistically, there's probably like 1/4 or maybe less than 1/4 of the decks actually playing Poison Eternatus as a variant overall. And 0.2% are playing like the Sneasel Weavile GX. That Weavile GX variant of E-turn is actually kind of relevant. And it's actually doing pretty well, which I think is pretty funny. So yeah, I mean, these are the stats. I mean, a lot of crushing hammers. So the average amount of hammers in an E-turn deck is 2.69. And then if we look at dangerous drill, it's only 0.31. So I think that hammers is definitely in power plant is 0.85 as well. So power plant's pretty common in all of these E-turn decks, and so is things like like crushing hammers. So I think that the disruption E-turn build is probably the most relevant one in the format right now. But yeah, that's pretty interesting. So not a huge representation of Eternatus here in the top cut, which personally I think is a little bit interesting, but it definitely didn't have a bad phase one for sure. So now we can take a look at ADP here. We had 41 people playing ADP, 12.8% of the meta share. This was our second most played deck. Overall, the win percentage is only 46%, so it did kind of take an L today. But that kind of happens with Zacian. We might have a lot of people, or a good handful of people that did really well with Zacian, but a lot of people kind of flop early in the tournament playing this deck, and that's just sort of how ADP works. So let's take a look at ADP Zacian here. So we really have only two people actually that made top cut. One of them being, of course, Zach Lesage at 922, one of the top seeds after day one. He had a really great run here. And then Tilly KCG, who's 9-4, just made it in here at the 31 seed. If we take a look at its matchups, like what did ADP struggle with for the most part? We can see that it was 58% win rate against Blacephalon. Against Luke Metal, it actually had a 55% win rate, and I think that's the difference between Rusted Sword. That's not as high as a win rate of a win rate that I actually thought ADP would have against Luke Metal, which is actually pretty interesting. And kind of stands to note that maybe Luke Metal isn't as badly positioned right now as you might think. Exactly 50% in the mirror match. What's some other significant numbers here? It was down 40. It only won 46% of its matches against Pikarom. So Pikarom did have the advantage in day one against ADP. That is something that's kind of interesting to note. But for the most part, it's pretty even. But 21-24, I think that Pikarom does oftentimes win that matchup because overall, I think that the hammers and the energy denial is really something that ADP can struggle with for sure. Only a 42% win rate against Sendascorch. So Sendascorch was sort of the I guess the most shining example here in day one. Sendascorch had a very good day one, and it was definitely very, very impressive. And against E-Turn, it only had a 28% win rate, which is just absolutely terrible. And in my opinion, is the reason why ADP is not as good right now, or not as relevant right now as it possibly could be, with E-Turn again being the most played deck, the best deck in the format many people think. If you don't have a good E-Turn matchup, you're not going to have a good time. Only 17 ADP decks beat E-Turn out of 60? So actually kind of insane. It's actually a little bit wild, I'm not going to lie here. So yeah, I mean, ADP does really well against some of these minor decks that people don't really think about, but for the most part, yeah, it's just insane. If we look at Crushing Hammer, so how many people? Only 0.66 average of one Crushing Hammer in the game. So that means that a lot of people aren't running hammers in their E-turn list, and I kind of understand. I think for right now, people are running Rusted Sword. There is 1.44. So the average ADP deck is running Rusted Sword for sure. Some of them aren't, but I think that most of them who are running at least one, and some people are running two. I think that's what that number kind of signifies. And another thing that I do want to note, so hammers was really low. Rusted Sword was pretty on the rise there. And if we look at over here at Pokemon, so if we look at Mawile 1.17, double Mawile in ADP has actually become a little bit more common. I think our highest placing ADP list in the tournament right now was running Mawile and no Crushing Hammers, double Mawile. And I think that's interesting to note, actually, for sure. And then 2.27 for Dedenne, and 3 Dedenne is becoming increasingly more common in ADP as well. So that's just something to note. If we look at Aegis/V, only half of our ADPs in the tournament were running an Aegis/V. Personally, I think that a double Mawile is enough to kind of, factor in with those Altaria Deseguns matchups. I think that double Mawile can be very, very good. And I don't know if you necessarily always need Aegis/V, especially with the low count of those sort of control type variants in our tournament, are really just being played right now. So, Yeah, I mean, this is sort of the average here with ADP. We have an average of 8 and 3 seems to be the normal when it comes to the energy lineup. Some people are running 9 and 2, and that's kind of what these numbers signify for sure. Not many coding in Aurora, but yeah, ADP, man, it it definitely did have that great of a day. Zach had a great day one with ADP's Asian, but overall, I don't think that it's that that phenomenal right now. Overall, ptcg had a pretty, struggled off like a little bit also, kind of like ADP here with 35 people playing ptcg in the tournament, 11% of the meta share here, and it got a 46.72% win rate, so honestly not that great. 121 wins and 135 losses. If we look at the players, so we had only 2 ptcgs that made it into the top 32, which is insane. We had Robert Hines, who was our 1 seed after our phase 1, which is important to note. Then we have Brandon McLeod here. So yeah, I mean, just 2 people making top 32, 15 seed and the 32 seed. If we take a look at matchups, let's see if ptcg did well. So again, yeah, like we said, it did pretty well against ADP there. What else can we take a note of? So it was just under 50-50, so 13-14 against Scorch. And let's look at the Luke Metal win rate was only 40%. Again, Luke Metal just sort of kind of being randomly dominant right now in the format. And then it only had a 31.91% win rate against Eternatus. So ptcg definitely seems to struggle with Eternatus, even with the 4 hammers and the yell grunts that people are playing in ptcg. I think that's actually kind of interesting to note. But for the most part, I think that Etern just had a really good matchup against most of the other meta decks right now in the format. I mean, I can kind of understand that. Are we missing anything? Anything else that's kind of worth covering? We did see a decent amount of Excadrill in the tournament, and ptcg was never able to beat Excadrill. I think that kind of makes sense. It was almost 50-50 on Colossal, which is interesting. So yeah, I mean, Blounce here, so 55% win rate against Blounce. Yeah, so I mean, I think that ptcg, of course, is not as in a great spot right now in the meta. It just isn't very well positioned with things like E-Turn and the new ADP kind of seemingly having the advantage over it, even though ptcg had the upper hand when it comes to the win rate. Luke Metal, another deck that you can struggle with when they found their Malalanas. E-Turn, it's just not good. So ptcg, it's a little bit sad, but I guess some people are probably happy that ptcg is kind of falling off a bit in terms of its playability, and I kind of understand that. The typical, there's not much variance when it comes to these ptcg lists. Like we got 3 Bolton, 2 Pika, 2 Dedenne, 2 Mewtwo, 1 Choo-Choo, Crobat, Eldegoss, Coco, and then some random stuff here. But yeah, I mean, that's all the ptcg lists are going to be pretty standard. If we look at the Crushing Hammer, they're literally, and this is insane to note, there literally wasn't 1 ptcg in the entire tournament that wasn't running 4 Crushing Hammers. Just keep that in mind. A lot of them were running 1 Yell Grunt, but for the most part, people were playing 2 Yell Grunts, and they still struggled with that Eternatus matchup. So absolutely insane to think about. Actually insane to think about. Okay, so next up, we're going to take a look at Scorch with a 55% win rate in the tournament. We're not going to do this going through all the decks. We're probably just going to stop here at like Luke Metal. Or we might even, yeah. So we'll take a look at Senti. Again, 55% win rate was definitely very, very good. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people in top 32 playing Scorch, so Welder is going to be very, very relevant. We got my man Marco Cifuentes up here, so shout out to Marco. If we look at the matchups here, again, just pretty good matchup spread all across the board. The only things that it struggled with were, I think, Excadrill. It was technically 2 and 3 against Excadrill, but that's a very small sample size. Yeah, if we look at literally all of the meta decks in the tournament, like all of the most played decks in the tournament, against Luke Metal, had a 69% win rate. What's another one we can look at? E-Turn here, it had a 58% win rate. ADP, 55% win rate. Blounce, 55% win rate. Mad Party, 53. Colossal was 50-50. Like, it just, honestly, Rowegg here, actually lost most of its games against Rowegg, which is kind of crazy to think about. But, yeah, I mean, Scorch, it just had a fantastic game. Like, it was a very good tournament. Right now, it seems like the red decks, fire decks are one of the best choices you can play right now. And I think that Scorch just has a really good spot. It's really well positioned right now in the meta. No one's really playing water. A lot of people are playing E-Turn, ADP Peak. Those are all things that you can do very well against. And I think that Scorch, definitely can make a case as being one of the most playable decks right now in the format. I think that Scorch and Eternatus are really right at the top there. And personally, I think that ADP and Peak have kind of dipped a little bit below, even with Rusted Sword being included. I think that Scorch is still a phenomenal deck. And if we look at cards here, I don't know if we're going to see something too crazy. Like at my first glance here, Wonder Lab, only 1.8 average of 1 Wonder Lab. So I guess maybe like a fourth of the people are putting a Wonder Lab in there, or a fifth of the people are playing a Wonder Lab in their deck. Kind of interesting. The average Fire Crystal was 2. Average energy count was about 11, maybe 12. Definitely the Jirachi engine was common. We only had 0.12 Silvally, 0.18 Heatran GX. Half of them were playing 1 Cram. Most of them were playing Giratina, and I do really hope that people play Giratina in this list. Some people weren't playing Reshiram, but I think the most of the people were playing, like a 1-of copy in their deck. For sure, average of 2 Dedenes, 2 Crobats, 2 Volcanions, about 2.5 Jirachis. Some people are just running 2 Jirachis, which I find interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think Centiskorch, I think that was the big surprise with day 1, that Centiskorch was going to do as well as it did. But overall, personally, I think that Centiskorch is phenomenal, and it's very well positioned in our meta right now. I mean, we saw that having eight of these Centiskorch players, making it all the way into our top 32 bracket, so definitely very interesting. Our 5th most played deck, we had 34 Centiskorch, by the way. We had Blounce as our 5th most played deck, so Welder right in hand. If you add up all the Welder decks, these two exactly, like at least 34 and 30, that's 64 people playing Blounce, like Tempo Zard type decks, or Centiskorch, and that's technically the most highest played. I like to combine the archetypes because they're almost the exact same 60. Just because that's how Welder decks go. So 64 meta Welder decks being played right now definitely is more than any other meta deck if we were to combine it. So keep that in mind. Blounce had a pretty average day. I mean, it was a little bit below average, 48 percent win rate, 9% of the meta share. Let's take a look at Blounce here. We had 2 people in top 32 making it with Blounce. We have Yuri here, our 5th seed, and then we have Yurifu. That's funny, they have similar names, at the 21 seed. Taking a look at the matchups, it's kind of interesting to see what Blounce does well against. Had a 56 against Luke Metal. E-Turn, only a 47% win rate. Senti, 45% win rate. Rowegg, 45. Pikarom, 44. Where's ADP here? ADP, 40. So Blounce really does struggle against most of the meta decks in the format right now, and I think that's kind of its downside. I think that Blounce can win any matchup. I think that it's not as consistent as all the other decks that are being played more than Blounce. And I think that's very interesting to note. So if I had to pick a Welder deck, I would most definitely pick Centiskorch. Not only did it just outperform Blacephalon in this first day, it just overall seems like it's a much more consistent and a much more, dominant force in the format. Personally, I think that Centiskorch, at least based off of this day 1, is a much more played deck, and for good reason. I guess we can take a look at the average here. So the average amount of energies in Blounce is 14. I think that this sort of format of Blounce is pretty, busted wide open. It's crazy because the average amount of Blounce in these decks is only 2.37. So most people were playing like the Cracephalon and Tempo Zard variant. Not many people were playing straight Blounce in the tournament. Average of 2 Cram, average of 1.3 Reshi. So a lot of people are just playing 1 Reshi as well. An average of about 4 Jirachis. Anything that jumps out of the screen here, I'm just trying to look. 0.2 Heatran GX, 0.2 Eldegoss. 0.6 reset stamp, about 1 boss's orders per average. Yeah, it's honestly just interesting, to be 100% honest with you. It's actually just very interesting. Spinner, some people are playing Spinner in the deck. Someone's playing like some people playing Capture Energy in the deck. So definitely some randomness. But yeah, Blacephalon, I don't know if anyone expected it to do much better than it did, but it definitely, dropped off quite a bit. We're not going to go over Rillaboom, but it did have a 52% win share. I'll just click real quick. We do have actually 3 people in top cut playing Rillaboom Rowegg, which is interesting. But if we look at Luke Metal here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 Luke Metals in top 32. That's almost higher than any other deck right now in the tournament, which is actually insane. We're going to take a look here at the matchups. Again, Luke Metal, of course, likes to do very well against some matchups. Like, if we look here, Eternatus, 71% win rate. Pikarom, 56% win rate. Straight Zacian, Turbo Zacian, 50% win rate. ADP, 45. So it did struggle against ADP. I can see that for sure. And it definitely did very well, or definitely didn't do very well against things like Blounce or Rowegg or Senti, 27% win rate against Senti. So Luke Metal is one of those things where, like, on one half of the meta, things that aren't Welder decks, or I guess Rowegg, Luke Metal seems to be a very powerful deck, a very good choice. But with Welder being so common right now in the format, you can kind of, assume that you're going to drop some games throughout day 1 or eventually in the tournament to some Welder decks, and you better hope that you don't hit those early on in the top 32 bracket, right? But if there wasn't Welder decks right now, if that wasn't a part of the meta, I think that Luke Metal would be absolutely insane. Yeah, I mean, it only had 5 ties throughout the entire tournament, which is something to note as well. People are kind of playing the deck at a bit of a faster pace. Nobody really wants to tie in day 1 because it's like, you want to make sure that you get day 2 moving into phase 2. So pretty interesting for sure. These are the averages. So an average of 3.3 coding metal energies. Let's see here, 2 dolls, 2 Malalanas, tag call, 1 power plant was actually pretty common in Luke Metal as well, which I like to see that. I like to see that. You have a good E-turn matchup, so you might as well play power plant, stop those Dedenes or Koryus and stuff like that. So it definitely makes sense. Some people are playing like a mix of Turbo Zacian. Only 1/2 of the decks are playing 1 Aegis/V. The average of 2 Luke Metals, 2 Zamazentas. Everything is pretty standard, I think, with Luke Metal. It's been pretty standardized and been kind of busted open in the format. But yeah, I mean, this has been sort of a quick analysis of the topper of like the higher up decks in the meta. Just a few things that's a bit sad here. Orbital, I went 5 and 6 with 2 players, so nothing too crazy. Dragapult, only 25% win rate. We don't like to see that. Delmise, 37. That's sad. Just taking a look at some of the newer archetypes and seeing how they might do. Amazing Rare Kyogre. I think all of these 4 people are playing the Frostmoth variant. Only a 30% win rate. Crobat, VMAX, 25% win rate. So none of the newer archetypes coming from Shining Fates are that successful, sadly, but they are definitely fun to play, and it's cool to see people playing those decks. So big shout out to them. If we look at Control, we had 1 player playing Control. He went 6 and 5, or at least this version of Control. We did have Excadrill Handlock. Didn't do very well. Let's see. Altaria, nope. 0 and 6. The Muck Control deck, 6, 9, and 4. So these Control players didn't really do well. Control isn't in a great spot right now in the meta, and that's just sort of how it goes. We did have 1 great Mad Party player. 1 guy 9 and 4, so we do have 1 more Mad Party in top cut. I guess we can just sort of take a look. First of all, let's take a look at phase 1. So these are our top players in phase 1. Some things that stand out. We do have a Rowegg up here in the top 4. Mad Party, Desi. We have a Psychic Mewtwo. This is just phase 1 as well, which is pretty interesting. And we had, I think, like 100 of these people make it into phase 2. So, it's nothing too crazy. If we go to phase 2, this is how people did in those last 5 Swiss rounds of yesterday. And you can see that Centiskorch and Welder was very, very popular, very, very common. And I think this makes sense. Like, once we get into playing most meta decks, Centiskorch does feel pretty comfortable against things like Luke Metal, Zacian, and all of those other types of decks. We did have Ian Robb here, who went 3 and 2 in day 2. And if I believe I'm correct, he's 8 and 5, so he did bubble out of top 32. But Ian Robb actually playing Pikachu VMAX had a pretty fantastic run in the tournament. I like to see it. Let's take a look at his deck real quick. Give Ian Robb a shout out for playing Pikachu VMAX. Yeah, I mean, it's just the Electro Tapu Koko. I mean, this is Turbo, pretty much. It's Pikachu VMAX is pretty interesting. Has a pretty good matchup against, like, tag team Pokemon, honestly, but for the most part, like, I just think this deck is kind of a meme, to be 100% honest with you. But yeah, it's pretty funny. I mean, shout out to Ian Robb for just busting it out at the Tropical Beach tournament and beating some people, bro. Okay, yeah. And then this is what our top 32 bracket looks like. Like I said, predominantly we have 6 Luke Metals in here. I think we have 8 Centiskorches, which is absolutely wild. We have 2 Roweggs playing each other here. 76ers and Skylon will be facing up in the first round of phase 2. Maybe we'll take a look at that match at some point. We also have a Decidueye and a Mad Party playing each other, which is kind of cool to see. Do we have any other mirrors? Yeah, we have a Luke Metal mirror here. We've got Senti mirror here. So honestly, just kind of cool to look at. Blounce versus Excadrill. It's going to be pretty interesting. I'm still deciding, or I guess figuring out what matches here in round 1 we're going to be able to watch if possible, and I'm definitely very invested, and I cannot wait to watch. I think if I had to choose one, to be honest with you, I might just tune into Zach Lesage playing Senti here. I think this is a very polarizing matchup, and it could go either way. But at the same time, I think Rowegg E-turn could be kind of interesting. There's a Senti E-turn. Maybe we hop in on this guy, the battle of the big boys of the tournament. Maybe we'll probably just hop into whoever can honestly just do it. But definitely very interesting. If we look at combined, so this is the people really at this point in the tournament going into top 32. This is what we're looking at for our highest players. Of course, we do see some E-turns here at the top. We got some Centiskorches up here as well. And then if we go down a little bit, we have our 4 or 5 Luke Metals down here as well. We have 1 peak, 2 peak. And that's it, man. Robert Hines just squeezed in after being the 1 seed after phase 1. Took a bit of a dip. I think he went like 1. I think he went like 1 and 3, 1-3-1. I think it was in phase 2, and just kind of barely squeaked in here. But yeah, it's gonna be super interesting. A lot of variety in terms of where people are from in the world, which you always love to see that. I think that's always absolutely phenomenal. And I definitely can't wait. Is there anything else we can actually look at here? I'm just trying to think, like, metagame. Like, this was the metagame. I guess we could look at standings. Combined. Here, let's just go ahead and take a look at Chalo Zamorano. I think is how you say it. Let's take a look at his list. This is our 1 seed going into our top 32 bracket. And I think this is just typical Senti Nats ability Centiskorch here. We've got the 3-3 lineup, 3 Jirachis, 2 Crobats, 2 Volcanions, Dedenne, yep, 2 of those, 1 Goon, 1 Reshi, Eldegoss, Giratina, Fion, and we got 4 Scoop Up Nets. Excuse me, 4 Quick Balls as well. We do see a reset stamp in here with a Great Catcher, which I think is pretty cool. 2 Fire Crystals, 11 Energies, 4 Welder, 2 Boss. We do have the Bird Catcher in here. I mean, everything is in here that you would expect. I think, you know, Thomas Brophy literally, like, kind of created this list, and then people just took it and played. And I think that if you're playing Centiskorch right now, there's nothing better to play. If you're playing Welder right now, there's nothing better you could be playing than this list right here. You really have an answer for most decks, and it seems to be incredibly consistent and just overall a very, very, very good deck. Centiskorch is very powerful, and I feel like we've looked at almost this exact 60 so many times, but I really can't say enough. I think that this list here is that phenomenal. It's just super, super consistent, and I'm excited to see where it goes. If you look at it, let's take a look at maybe this top couple E-turn lists. See what kind of E-turns are rocking up here. So this is Disruption E-turn. So again, we have 4 Hammers in this list. We got 2 Power Plants. Everything else is kind of standard. 2 Goons, 2 Yveltal, Hoopa, Spiritomb. I like to see it. We do have a couple special energies, so like, and one thing that's becoming more and more common is a Weakness Guard energy in Eternatus. And this is why I think that when we're playing Urshifu, Rapid Strike Urshifu in the future, or really either of the Urshifus, a Jirachi Scoop Up Net engine with maybe Giratina and Hammers is just going to be the best way to play it, because once E-turn starts running Weakness Guard energies, you better have an answer for it, because you know you're not going to be happy if you're playing the new Urshifu in Battle Styles, and you hit an E-turn who's got Weakness Guard. So I think Weakness Guard is actually kind of funny. I did get screwed over by it one time in a tournament. You know, we're not going to talk about that. But yeah, Disruption E-turn there as our number 2 seed. Let's take a look at the number 3 seed and see if it's actually any different per se. So it's similar. I think we're just running a little bit different like Pokemon lineup. I don't think we're running the Hoopa here. We're running a Dangerous Drill on top of the 4 Hammers and 2 Power Plants, 9 Energies. He might be running 1 less Boss or 1 less Energy. I don't necessarily remember. But this one seems super consistent. And I like Dangerous Drill. There's a lot of special energies in the format right now, a lot of stadiums, things like that. So very, very cool. Let's look at Marco Cifuentes, the 9th seed. The Chill Series number 3 champion, keeping it strong, and he is playing a very similar list to the last one that we saw here, except what's the difference? Let me spot the difference. He's not playing Giratina. He is playing an extra Boss's Orders. Oh, never mind. No, he's not. So he's not playing Giratina. And what am I missing? Like I don't know what's even different here. I guess I should probably know that. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what's different about this list, so that's my bad. Maybe an extra Calm or something. Maybe an extra Hearth. I really don't know. But he's not running Giratina, which is something I guess interesting to know. Maybe he's running an extra Crobat. I honestly don't know. I have no idea. But Marco Cifuentes is a fantastic player, and both of those Senti lists and both of these E-turn lists are extremely popular. So you can kind of see, right, overall what maybe the best decks are in our game right now. We got Blounds, Luke Metal ADP. Let's take a look, actually. This one's super interesting. This red Dragus straight to Decidueye deck. I think this was made by Tate Whitesell. It's sort of like a Desi list, and we do have Basculin in here. Let's take a look at Basculin. So, Swarming Bites. This attack does 20 damage for each Basculin you have to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So it's just a way to kind of like ping the bench, and you can have 2 of them. So like technically you can hit the bench for 40, right? Which I guess could figure a lot of math out. And can really kind of slow down, I guess, several matchups because Desi likes the damage spread for sure. And we're running Dojo in the deck. So maybe I'm missing something here. Why are we running Dojo in here? The attacks of non-Ultra Beast Pokemon that have any basic fighting energy attached. Wait a minute. You're not telling me. Yeah, okay. So he's running fighting energies. Maybe to attach to the Basculin, and then he's running Dojo, so he's like hitting the bench for like 70 or 80. Is that what I'm hearing right now? Is that the strategy? We have Hoopa. So this is wild. Like I didn't even know Dojo did this, but this list is absolutely ridiculous. And it seems absolutely busted, man. This is funny. This deck is literally in top cut. It's in top 32. If this deck wins, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. But this is absolutely phenomenal. I love to see it. Big shout out to Red Dragus, dude. Super, super cool. He's actually the 8th seed in the entire 320-man tournament. And I believe he's the only Desi as well. And like there is a lot of Senti. There's like a couple Blounds and stuff. But you know, for the most part, I think that this Desi could do very well. Actually, let's go ahead and look at the top 30 bracket. So he's playing Mad Party, which is a game that you can lose, but I think Desi has a pretty good chance of winning. Either way, though, he's either going to be playing against a Luke Metal or an Aegislash, and Zekro's not playing Aegislash. So if this Senti wins, then this Desi probably will not have a great chance. But you know, we have Geistorm here playing Mad Party, and he is the I forget what seed he is, but this is our only Mad Party in Top Cut. And there's one card here. Oh, there we go. So this is pretty standard as well. We do have a U-turn board, actually. And only one Exile. So, and then 2 Roxy. So this is kind of cool. This is like what our highest placing Mad Party list looked like. And I don't really follow Mad Party too much. Maybe the archetype of Mad Party is evolving, so who knows? That could be super, super cool. But, you know, for the most part, yeah, I think that's actually just very interesting. Definitely very interesting. And I love to see it, man. I mean, I love to see Mad Party doing well, right? I mean, it's cool to have one deck like that. We do have one Excadrill as well. This is attacking Excadrill. It's Richard Ruiz, a former Chill Series champion as well. Let's take a look at his list, and then we'll kind of wrap things up. We've been talking for a while. I think we've covered most things that we've want to cover from day one here. Richard, so he's got just the Drillbur lineup, the Cinccino draw engine. He does have 2 Altaria to sort of auto-win some matchups. We do see the Mew to protect your bench. We've got the Oricorio, Dedenne, Fion, all good stuff. We actually are running Hapu, you know, to thin through your deck to get that 11th hour tackle attack off. Get the Dojos, the Energies. Yeah, I mean, all good stuff. I think this is kind of what an attacking Excadrill deck seems to just look like these days. But I think it's super, super cool. It's also very well positioned in the meta. I think that Excadrill can definitely beat E-Turn for sure. It has a good Pikarom matchup. I think that it does struggle against ADP. I think you could beat Blounds. You can beat a lot of decks with this deck here. Like, it actually, with Altaria especially thrown in there, and Excadrill being a very good attacking option, having one of the best typings in the game right now, I think that Excadrill definitely has potential. We didn't have too many people playing it, but it is, again, surprising that we only had one Excadrill make it into Top Cut. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of what our day one summarized was, right? I mean, this is, of course, you know, I didn't want to cover too much stuff. I kind of just wanted to give you guys a lowdown if you were a little bit interested in getting more details about how day one went of the tournament. But like I said, I think Senti going into our Top Cut, I think Senti is probably the most surprising outcome here. Luke Metal also very surprising. E-Turn pretty consistent, pretty average. And then, you know, everything else seems to be a little bit less dropped off than you would think. The meta is actually more diverse than people think it is, and I'm definitely very excited. And I think that these top 32 matches are going to be phenomenal. And if you guys want to watch these top 32 matches, I highly suggest that you come back at 7 p.m. tonight. You come in, you take a look, you just watch, hang out. We're going to have a really good time. Maybe me and my friends are going to be just streaming, just kind of talking. It's nothing going to be too formal. We're going to just be watching these top 32 matches until later tonight when somebody gets that Tropical Beach. You're not going to want to miss it. These games are going to be phenomenal. We have so many great players, and I cannot wait to watch. Another thing, if you were a little bit on the fence about joining, we are giving away a bunch of awesome stuff here during the giveaway to our viewers. In the live stream, we're giving away 50 Shining Fates packs on PTCGO. We're also giving away tons of playsets, full playsets, 12 playsets of a bunch of different hollow energies of all energy types. It's just going to be busted. Come here, enjoy the stream, win some giveaways, pimp out your PTCGO account. I really just can't wait. It's going to be super, super fun. So, yeah, definitely tune in at 7. I think that it's going to be really fun. The live stream is scheduled. I'll be posting it on my Twitter. Hopefully we can get a lot of people in there. If we get 100 people watching the tournament at one time, then we will, of course, be able to give away 50 extra Shining Fates packs. So I just can't wait. It's going to be absolutely phenomenal. Link to that live stream will be down in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I've been Matty from Chill TCG. Again, big shout out to the Filthy Goat. He's the one that did donate the Tropical Beach to our prize pool to this tournament. Because of him, you know, of course, we're able to do this. So check him out. His Twitter will be down in the description below. Absolutely fantastic guy. Shout out to all 320 of you guys who played in the tournament. It means a lot to me, and I'm super excited to be able to put on an event like this for you guys. It's just absolutely phenomenal. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for the video, guys. I'll see you guys later tonight, only in like 4.5 hours. It's going to be big. I can't wait. It's going to be super fun, and let's see who wins that Tropical Beach. I'll see you guys later.